Welcome to Magic.ai, the operating system for hospitality. At Magic, we know an operating system is more than just software and systems. It's about people, because hospitality is nothing without them. So supporting the hospitality community is our number one goal.
I think there needs to be more of a support system. Like, you have to love this business and you have to love every aspect of it, including sharing tribal knowledge on what is successful and also tribal knowledge of what is a failure.
Founded by lifelong experts, we're building the place where everyone in hospitality, from seasoned pros to first-timers, can gather, share, and grow together. Plus, we're crafting scalable tools and AI-supported software to boost your business. Dive into our vibrant community platform packed with meaningful conversations and robust tools and templates designed just for you. Need more? Our custom software solutions have got you covered. From recruiting and staffing to digital playbooks and dashboards, we're working on building a unique hub of resources unlike any other. Magic is your single point of origin for important conversations, accessible tools, valuable insights, and more. Join us at Magic.ai. The evolution of hospitality is here.
I walk around and I taste things and I pat people on the back and I let them know that I'm here. I think that having drastically different restaurants can make somebody a little bit more resilient because you're just always trying to do new stuff and you're not just like throwing down the same cards. Something I've learned is like location is a good thing to have on your side. If you're 100% destination, I think that you're going to get those people driving as long as they need to get to your establishment. If you're more of a casual, I think it's a little bit harder for you to work with no foot traffic. And then opening a restaurant in a town that's full of people, it's a little bit like shooting fish in a bucket.
With nearly 20 years of experience, Chef James Galbraith grew up in the restaurant industry of Southwest Michigan. Having spent time across the lake in Chicago, James worked in some of the city's best restaurants, gathering insights and ideas that he would later put to use in 2019 when James, along with his sister Cheyenne, welcomed their first diners to their new American restaurant, Houndstooth, in Benton Harbor, Michigan. In the fall of 2022, James and his wife, Gabrielle, opened up a second restaurant, Animal, showcasing casual yet classy Midwest meets Tex-Mex. This week, Chef James will be opening his third restaurant, Postboy, a new American restaurant with his partner, Ben Holland.
There's days when I'm like, not working that day. That's my day with my daughter. Sunday, whatever that means to you, might mean something different to me. We have this network of chefs that we can call at any time. It's immeasurable. If I need to ask somebody something, I'll reach out to you or somebody that I worked with in Chicago or something like that. And if you don't have that, I don't think that you might open the same quality of business. I can kick this off. I can say that I got my first sous chef job, and the very first special that I put out, I copied straight out of your cookbook. So it was.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, it was. I was like, I'm gonna cook it right from this cookbook, and I was nervous as hell. I think it was like a pork chop with beans. It was just
dude.
simple. I made it my own by putting celery leaves on it, but other than that, it was yours.
I love it. Well, you and I have become fast friends. I think we met through the social media network, and I just kind of always admired your style and, your approach. We kind of started talking food, I guess, I don't know, probably 3 or 4 years ago. Somewhere in there, maybe further back. I don't recall.
I think we started talking about other things than food first. Maybe, but I believe that I kind of reached out to, like, I think you helped me a lot with balance, which is very important to me in that stage of my life. So
yeah, you were going through a moment of growth, personally and professionally, I guess, at that time, which is really how we kind of started to kind of kick our relationship off. And you're about to go through another momentous moment of growth. You are opening.
Yeah, I think there's like an ebb and flow of balance. Like, you have it sometimes, and then you decide to be ambitious again, and then you kind of lose focus of that, and then you just hope to get it back. So
Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about Postboy, because you're sitting right now in your merch booth at Postboy. I know that you guys are opening this week. I saw the kind of social media announcements and all the kind of lead up and lead in that you've been doing. I guess first and foremost, give us all of the details about what Postboy is.
All right. We are in New Buffalo, Michigan, a very beautiful little beach town. We're about an hour outside of Chicago, right? If you can go parallel from Chicago across the lake, we would be right there. We're like, I can see the lake from here. Um, we're New American small share plates. However, this one's a big one. This one's sizable. Um,
Big in size.
yeah. But I think that we were very thoughtful with, all the things that we did. We got the Mirth, Eric and Abby, beautiful people in New England, that made all of our dishes. And we approached it in a way that was still like very intentional for a small restaurant. We just were very ambitious to make it big. So we actually had a soft opening Friday and Saturday
Oh,
already.
okay. Well, thanks for the invite.
I don't know if you wanted to be there Friday, but I definitely think you'd have had a great time on Saturday.
Well, I still have my
We
chance
really
because
dialed it
I
in.
believe I'm coming out to cook with you at some point. So
You definitely are.
I'm looking forward to that. So tell us, okay, so large American restaurant, small shareable plates.
How big is it compared to your other restaurants?
So the first one, Houndstooth was 48 seats inside, and then COVID happened, and 6 months to the day we were shut down. And so we made the pivot to create a patio that was about 24 seats. And then in 2022, when me and my wife opened Animal, we were about 60 inside and another 30 outside if we were at full. And we could, if we have an event space behind me, but we could do about 300. So way bigger. 10,000 square foot as far as the space. The patio alone is about 6,000 square foot. So it's, we're trying to do really great food and push it out fast as hell.
Yeah. So tell us about like what led up to this point. I mean, you're in a wildly different place now for a lot of different reasons, professionally and personally, but also like this is a wildly different restaurant. Like you're used to small, tight, I can touch all four walls. I am intimately close with all of my team. In fact, all the way to the point where you have run a restaurant with your sister. And now you're kind of entering this whole new era where you have an investor and you have a team and have a PR company, which I've come to find out, having worked with them a little bit these last few weeks to get you on here, stuff like that. So you're a different type of chef now. So talk to me about what led you to this place.
Sure. It's vastly different. I find myself delegating a lot more than I'm used to. So I'm still learning that. That's still like in its infancy stages for me. Yeah, I would say I've done 2 days of service, so that's a hard question to answer for you. But I walk around and I taste things and I pat people on the back and I let them know that I'm here and I'm the hype man that you told me I needed to be probably 2 years ago when we had a discussion on the phone. And I am just trying to hype people up and make them love working here.
How did you know that it was time to open a third place?
I did not. It was an opportunity that was presented, and I would like to introduce my partner Ben Holland. He is actually not here right now, but he's very involved in this project. So I would hate to not involve his name. He reached out. He's in the Chicago area, and I thought I was just a little bit paying it back. And probably 2 weeks in, I was totally locked in and signed up for a giant restaurant. So I don't think that I could say I was ready, but I guess I made that decision in 14 days that I was going to be ready for something like this.
How did you
So-
guys find each other?
Instagram. That's how I do all my work.
Really? Wow. So he
it's-
had seen your work at your other two restaurants and sort of said, this looks awesome. I love what you're doing. I want to start a restaurant. Let's do it together.
Yeah, I think we live in a kind of small area. So I believe that we had some mutual connections that kind of connected us together.
So you started small, opened your first restaurant with your sister Cheyenne. The family dynamic brings a whole nother kind of thing to the table. And then you decided to do Animal. What was it like going from a restaurant with your sister to a restaurant with your spouse?
You're loading these questions up, Matt. Both great. Both great. And both have their own. They both have their own very interesting situations that you have to deal with. I guess starting with my sister, she was a bit older than me, and she kind of pushed me to get into food. And we actually didn't grow up together. She grew up in another state, and then she cooked for Jennifer James in New Mexico, and then she had her my nephew, and then it took a long time for our cooking career to begin together. And then my wife, she does for all three restaurants still all the social media and kind of the back of the house stuff, all the stuff that makes chefs look cooler than they really are. Like the people that can take badass pictures of your food that it's not what it looks like on your iPhone. And we opened that in 2022. It was kind of a different climate. I mean, and it was a different restaurant too. It was like a counter service, Tex-Mex. In all transparency, I thought that the same guest list was just going to transplant itself over, and we kind of, you have learning moments. I think after opening a third one, there's new learning moments for every restaurant, and I think that having drastically different restaurants can make somebody a little bit more resilient, because you're just always trying to do new stuff and you're not just like throwing down the same cards.
Yep. And so Houndstooth led to Animal. Animals led to Postboy. Obviously, in that time, you met Ben, and Ben wanted to do a project. Talk to us about how Postboy was born in your minds, the two of you. In other words, like how did he articulate kind of what he wanted to do to you as a partner, and how did you influence what Postboy is going to become as his partner?
Originally, it was a different concept altogether. It started out more Spanish, like taco. It started out more of an animal thing, and then I thought, man, we're right in the proximity of the restaurant. We're actually right on the Amtrak, so I could swing you around here, but if you really can't see, but right where that car drove by, that is the Amtrak station. So that's 90 minutes from Union Station in Chicago. So I really wanted to have a stage to have collaborative chefs, and I thought if we went the Tex-Mex route, it might kind of pigeonhole the thing. And I kind of wanted to show off again a little bit. In all honesty, I opened Houndstooth with my sister, and it's a little more fine dining, a little more tweezery, if you would. And then a buddy of mine, Ryan Pfeiffer, I haven't talked to him in a really long time, but I guess I'm more of a fanboy than a buddy, but I would say the same. He was the executive chef at Blackbird in Chicago on Randolph. So that's like the quintessential made Randolph what it was. And then he went on to open Big Kids in Logan, and I went to help a few days, and it was just like a beautiful sense of release to not do the chef. Like I felt like my blood pressure had dropped, and that like slinging 250 burgers to a different clientele was really fun. And they're just spraying people with super soakers, and there's Britney Spears posted on the wall, and there's like all like it's just all like 90 nostalgia restaurants. Like, you know, I'm not a big fan of pretense in the first place, but this was like really hardcore. Let's like get rid of anything fancy. And this comes from a guy that like got like a star, right? So it's like it was inspiring. So that was kind of the birth of Animal. And then from there on, and then I met Ben, and it just you know, our relationship was good, and we talked a lot, and it just, you know, it's been a year, and I started last August, and it's, you know, November, so it's been more than a year. But now we're here, and it's more beautiful than I thought it would have been.
So you talked about learning moments from opening each restaurant. Can you tell us about some of those? You can start with Post Boy, or you can go back to Houndstooth or Animal. But what are some of those that stick out in your mind of takeaways? And were you able to use learning moments from opening your first two restaurants when opening the third?
Absolutely, yeah. I think that something I've learned is like location is a good thing to have on your side. Unless you're a purely destination restaurant. If you're 100% destination, I think that you're going to get those people driving, you know, as long as they need to get to your establishment. If you're more of a casual, I think it's a little bit harder for you to work with no foot traffic. And then opening a restaurant in a town that's full of people, it's a little bit like shooting fish in a bucket. Not that, you know, not that I feel like we're not just killing it, but I do think like one big thing that's on the forefront of my head is because we've opened this one this week, and it's just been like, you know, it was busy. It was really busy. It was very busy. And I'm working
How
with KBS
saturated?
machines
Oh,
now.
sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, how saturated is you said it's a small beach town. How many restaurants are
So it
you
goes
your only competition?
like under 10,
Okay.
but so this town in particular goes from probably 6,000 people that live here year round to 50 to 60 in the summer. So it's like it goes to times 10. So there's probably 15,000 people that walk by every day. So
That's
it's, you
wild.
know, it's going from doing 120 covers a night to preparing yourself to doing 900 to 1,000 covers a night. When you also do have other restaurants in the town that do about 2,000 a day.
So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about scaling and systems that you have to have in order to make that scaling possible. But before I get to that, I want to talk about the location specifically and kind of what you guys went through in identifying potential locations. And I guess also within that, like, who dealt with the structure of the deal, the framework of the deal, finding the landlord or finding the property, right? How did that transpire?
So all that stuff was Ben. So Ben has the house. He's grown up in this area. He's from Chicago. He's spent his weekends, and he has his own great stories about New Buffalo. But this was a key corner of town. This was a Subway and a Keller Williams, half of it. And he's had a dream to make this into a beautiful space for probably 20 years. To the point where I think that he approached the original owner and asked if he could sell tacos and margs out of the driveway, out of the parking lot. when he was in college. So this has been on his mind for a very long time.
That's awesome. And then moving from Houndstooth and Animal, I mean, I know you to be somebody who's very systems oriented, who's very like, I guess in some ways, analog, like you're a pen and paper guy. You're kind of like, you're setting yourself up kind of every day for the list that has to get done, and you're working with your team to get that list accomplished. What kind of systems did you have to have in place that, when you're talking about a difference of, a couple hundred diners to 1,000, that's a tremendous change. So how do you, as a leader and a chef of this new restaurant, wrap your head around how you scale the experience so that it's consistent and it's quality every time?
I mean, that's the goal, right? I think systems. I think I fought the KDS monster for a long time, and we finally landed on maybe embracing it because the technology has come a lot further. In the very beginning of the project, I was like, we're just going to have a printer. I want to put PPX. I want to have the opportunity to hit all my allergies. I want to have the analog ability to move things around. And after going to some shows and really thinking about just the size and the scale of the business, and again, going back to our prior conversations, how do I make that a business that I personally don't have to put in 80-hour work weeks? I think that we could have a system where tickets would work, but it would require me to be there all day, every day, dawn to dusk. And so like putting all this technology in that's like really gone a far like these KDS machines can do everything that a ticket machine can do for the most part. I mean, there's like small things.
Tell the listeners about what KDS is.
It's a kitchen. You know what it is? Because the kitchen design system. I don't know what it stands for. It's a screen. It's a toast screen, right? So
yeah,
all your orders come in, you hit them when they're gone. The way we have it designed is the kitchens. There's also a screen outside where Expo happens, where I've been at, and I've had the ability to remove tickets once they're gone. We kind of have it in place where no one touches it inside. They're just using it as a reference to what they're sending out. And then whoever's on the outside of that window is the one that's fulfilling all those orders.
So you're digitizing the workflow in a kitchen environment more than you have been in the past. And
very, very much. And as much as I wanted to fight it, our ticket times by night 2 were cut in half because I decided to just drop the printer and completely focus on that screen. And once I just locked into that screen, by like 1 hour in, we were just, I think, so Ben likes to do a lot of polling people. I think one of the biggest polls was that the food was coming out too fast. So that's a easier problem to solve than the opposite.
So what changes does the KDS system change anything for the kitchen staff in how they work in their workflow or how they get things out of the kitchen, or is it more that it affects the expo?
I think it's both. It depends on what kind of kitchen you want to run, right? So like some restaurants are verbal only. So some restaurants, the kitchen doesn't have a ticket system. They just, chef calls out, I need 3 fish, I need 4 pasta, whatever, and they all sing it out in unison, and everybody gets goosebumps because that's the coolest feeling on planet Earth, right? But then honestly, when people call things out in unison, it's like a fucking choir going off. But for one that's going to potentially serve that many people, I wanted to give them the ability to see things. So to be honest, I don't actually know where we're at with that. It's day 2. We're gonna do another walk-in only tomorrow. It's day 3, so we're still figuring it out. But when I decided to embrace only the screen on that second night, food was just flying out of the kitchen.
What about the systemization of other aspects of the kitchen? Can you talk a little bit about what it means for the team to be prepared. I can't talk today. What it means for the team to be prepared on a daily. So, like, you know, playbooks, recipes,
Mm.
costing, like all that sort of stuff. I envision that you're kind of in a different place now with that stuff.
I am, and the answer that I give you might not be the one that you're expecting. And this is nothing that I'm very grateful to have the team that I feel like the perfect team came together, and everybody's like playing their part, and it's been, I think it could have been a lot harder than it actually is, just because the people are just really killing it. They're just in there and they're working hard. And I come in and ask them, do they need this or they need that? And then they're just like, Chef, no, I got this. We don't actually even need you back here. And I'm like day 2, and I'm like, okay, are you sure? Do you have all the Amazon passwords? Do you have all that stuff? And they're just like, yeah, it's taken care of. And I'm like, holy cow, you guys are great. I do a large number of my portion of my staff. We go way back, so we have that rapport.
Did you take staff from Houndstooth or Animal and bring them over
No,
to Postboy? Okay.
no, that's a no. We don't do that.
Okay.
How
So
did
no
Unless they
sharing
really,
race.
unless they really, really wanted to make a move, and they wanted to spread their wings in a different way. Of course, it's hard to see people go from a place that you really depend on them. But at the end of the day, you really want them to live their best lives. And if they want to move around, you talk to partners and you make the moves. But typically, I like to handle that all separately and instead of being internal. But there are exceptions.
So being a restaurant that you're going to serve upwards of 900 people a day, I would envision that means that you have a combined full and part-time staff that's probably close to 40, 45 people, maybe
In
more,
the
but that
summertime, about 65.
about 65 in the summer. Okay. So,
Right now, we're actually going into like the slower. I think we're going to do great because we're the new kids on the block, but we're going to be cut in half at least on that until summer hits. Really, it's just like Labor Day, Memorial Day. In between those is when it really comes into this town, and then
so what
Chicago
was
goes back to school, and then it instantly just.
so what was the plan for recruiting? Because, you know, development and retention is one thing, but you got to get people in the door, right? You got to find folks that have at least some idea of experience to some degree, and we're in a different time now, and those people are harder and harder to find. Talk to me about what the strategy was around recruiting, and what was it that you saw when you opened the door?
We implemented a lot of things that I before that were not used to, like Indeed and culinary agents and things like that pull from all across the country. We've gotten quite a few people coming from Chicago. We flew a couple people out from New York to try to fill some management positions. And it's instead of being very hyper local, we really reached out nationally, and we've gotten some really great talent nationally that have made the move. And you want to help make that move easy for them. So there's things you do to get people on board. And I mean, if you want to, like, we talk scale, when there's more food sales, it's all scale, right? So you have the ability to do more things for staff that you maybe wouldn't be able to do on a really small scale restaurant. Like when you get into insurance and all that kind of stuff that we're working towards. You have the capital to kind of make moves that you can't in a really small scale restaurant.
I know we had started this conversation by you saying that, a few years ago you had talked to Matt about wanting balance, and something that I've noticed in a lot of conversations that we've had with chef owners is the desire for a work-life balance and to have, access to mental health providers and health insurance and possibly more flexible days or days off. I'm just wondering if that was a part of your recruiting.
I don't know if it was necessarily a part of the recruiting, but I have personally seen a big change in what matters to people now. You know, Like when a giant paycheck how many years ago mattered, but it didn't matter how much you made them work, has been replaced by like, hey, I don't need to make as much. I'm drawing lines in the sand. The people are drawing a lot more lines in the sand now. They're like, all right, and I maybe it's just that I'm doing it now and I didn't realize it before, but there's days when I'm like, not working that day. That's my day with my daughter. Sunday, whatever that means to you might mean something different to me. So, I have a 12-year-old daughter that time is super important. So, the monetary aspect of some of that stuff kind of fades away. So I don't know if I answered that question 100%, but I think that a
Absolutely.
lot of people, feel that way, that we're figuring things out, that money doesn't make happiness.
What about skill set? Because you know me to be a little bit of a crusty old school brigade style chef, because that's just what I came up in. And I think that you're perhaps the last generation that got some of that exposure in this moment of kind of young leadership, if you will allow me to go there. But I'm curious now, as somebody who's opening a new project, like, what are you seeing on the skills development side of things with the folks that have applied to be a part of Postboy?
I mean, there's so many people that work here, so everyone has kind of their own thing. I will introduce you to Chef Dante though, if you guys want to meet him. He just walked out.
Yeah.
I think he did it on purpose.
Hey, Chef, how you doing?
Hey, Chef, how are you?
So Dante's a Alinea alumni, and he's here in Southwest Michigan now. So it's very cool that we get, that kind of help.
Talk to us a little bit about marketing, because the more that I've looked at like the Postboy surfaces, if you will, as a graphic designer would say, from the signage to the merch that you have hanging behind you, to the social media rollout, to the logo, to like all these things, it feels super intentional. It feels like you guys have put a ton of work and energy into that. And I'd love to hear a little bit about how you look at marketing and what your approach is for marketing a new restaurant.
Right. It's huge. And when you have an opportunity like this, you have, like you said, a PR team, and you get to bring in people that can do cooler stuff than you can do by yourself. So to have the opportunity to have, we designed this. We had a design company, and then we had a render person in Bosnia that we're working with on WhatsApp, and there's just so many heads involved that we were able to really, and I like that you say intention, because that's my favorite word. I think that, the devil's in the details. So let's I guess we could do a little geographical tour here. So New Buffalo is exit 1. So it's the first exit when you get into Michigan. So a lot of people that have their houses here are just, all right, we're in Michigan, we're going to dump off at exit 1. Whereas Ben Harbor is 27. So some people just want to be done at exit 1. And the amount of merch that comes out of all these businesses are insane. I could tell you I could go on about the metrics and the margins on it, but they are at insane margins. You're doing like 70% margins on t-shirts, and it's just like a lot different than food. So the merch games are super important.
And what about other types of marketing, like digital marketing, or, ad buying, or like how else are you guys telling the world that you're there now?
PR. Outside of that, I don't think we've done any ad buying or anything like that. And then my wife does, she kills it on the food shots, and that's extremely helpful too. Yeah, I think it's just one of those places that is going to do really well, knock on this plastic countertop.
Can you give us an example of one roadblock that you hit? I'm sure you've hit more than one while opening Post Boy. Can you give us an
Absolutely.
example of one and maybe how you and your team worked around it or through it?
Some cities have a lot more rules than the other ones. And I know I've learned that. And I don't think that's a negative by any means. I think that they've just, it's like an HOA situation,
No,
right? Isn't that what it is?
I
Like a
I don't know
housing
anything
development.
about that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I know everything about that, having owned a
So it's
restaurant
just
in a
like
residential
they're
neighborhood. But so you're talking about municipality challenges, right? And I can only
right. And
imagine I can only imagine going into a new environment, wanting to open a 20,000 square foot restaurant. That
then
yes, there would be it's 10. Sorry, that there would be uh 10 plus the patio, right?
six, six in the patio, two in the dining room, another two in the kitchen.
Oh,
So
okay, okay,
10,
okay.
10 in total.
Okay. So, anyways, opening a 10,000 square foot restaurant in a new environment would bring its own set of challenges with
Yeah,
the
for sure.
municipalities, right?
For sure. Like the other two restaurants were in very upcoming Renaissance areas where there was really no rules. You could just put a restaurant there because they wanted businesses there to, when you come into another area that's very well established and they're pretty rigid on what they want. And then you have your own ideas too. You're like, well, I want to bring something new to this area. I want to do something cool that hasn't been done yet. And therein lies some issues because it's like you're creating SOPs or like a asset plan for the municipalities to kind of accept things and trust you that you're following the rules and you're doing the things that they want, but you're just like trying to do cool shit. So we worked. It's great. We've gotten everything that we wanted. But there was just a lot of groundwork to do.
So one thing that you talked about was the selling merch and how important it is and how big the margins are. And, we all know that margins at restaurants are really small. And so it's great to have, you know, things like selling merch or, if you were a pasta restaurant, maybe you're selling dried pasta to take home or, private event space or private dining rooms are another way to bring in revenue. Did you think about all of those avenues when you were opening Postboy and sort of how you can get the most from a space that's that large? I know one thing that I read on your website is that I think you're going to have outdoor music, with live music some nights. Um, is that, did you take those things into consideration?
Yeah. So we have like, this is really bad, but we have this area right here that's a quick disconnect on a fireplace, and that's where we want to do live music. Then like walk up bar. It's still not. We haven't done any outside dining, so it's not put together. Let me show you this truck real quick. It's an old cool truck. But then like we also implemented this giant patio space we're gonna be able to do like bachelorette parties, rehearsal things for up to 60 people potentially, and the money that you make on those are significantly higher than like just normal diners. And then you know what you're getting into, and you can just. So yes, I guess long story long, yes.
Will you have rental fees for those types of spaces? And I know some restaurants do and some don't. Are you anticipating
We
having like, a rental fee for the room and then
haven't
food and
haven't
beverage?
figured that out yet. We're
Okay.
still. We lost our season for that right now. So we might have a couple more weeks of good weather, and then it's November here, so it gets quite cold. But I do feel like just a fixed cost is what I like to do. Like this is what it takes to get the space. It includes the food, it includes the drinks, it includes everything. This is the price, and that's like what I've done in the past. And then if you want to add on like an extra hour of cocktails or an extra hour at the end or an hour before for hors d'oeuvres, we can kind of discuss that. But I kind of like to set a base price. just makes it easy. Just makes it super easy.
So much of this business historically has been people who are forced to make decisions in the moment, right? That are they, in their view, the best decision that they can make for their business at that time, right? Um, I'm wondering, as you've gone through this process of now getting to the point where Postboy is open, were there moments where, as a partner in this project and the leader of the concept, where you wish there were certain questions you had answers to, or at least some sort of a community that you could lean into to get some of like the best practices so that you could better inform the decisions that you were going to make?
So are you asking James if he wishes that magic existed while he was opening this restaurant?
Yeah, I mean, I just think of it as something like in these moments when you're an entrepreneur and you're going into an overwhelming project like this, it would seem to me a great asset or tool would be a community like Magic, where you can connect with other like-minded professionals who've been down this road before, who've scaled themselves before, who've gone from 100 seats or even 50 seats to 300 seats or whatever the case is, so that you're that much better equipped to make the decisions that you're going to have to make.
I mean, 1,000%. Yeah, you wish there was this, area where you could just reach out and ask questions like AI style, and it would just pop up and they would give you the right answers. I think that is, I think that would be extremely helpful to everyone on planet Earth that's trying to do cool stuff.
Yeah, just the ability to connect with other people, I think, because
Yeah, and people that have,
the
like, it's not
hospitality.
always the same, but like
Well,
this
the
town's
hospi
different from that town. But I mean,
Of course, but there's lots of threads that run through it all. I think my point is, like, hospitality for me has always represented a community of people who, are able to kind of lean on one another, right? In those moments when we don't have the answers. And it's something that's really kind of difficult to explain to people that are outside of the industry because it's a culture thing, right? Like, you could
100%.
you and I've talked about this. Like, we're lucky enough that we can pick up the phone and call pretty much anybody in the industry that we know to get an answer for something that we need answered, right? Not everybody has that opportunity. So I just think that in these moments, it's a great example of, like, oh my gosh, if there was a place I could go where there were other professionals I could connect with, other people with the same kind of ideas, that would be willing to share those ideas so that I can better influence the work I'm going to do. I just think it's extremely powerful. And I can see that something like that would have been
Yeah.
so useful.
Yeah. I mean, maybe for people like us that have like developed relationships with other chefs in maybe larger metropolitan areas, and not maybe not even large areas, but just we have this network of chefs that we can call at any time. It's immeasurable. Like, if I need to ask somebody something, I'll reach out to you or somebody that I worked with in Chicago or something like that. And if you don't have that, I don't think that you might open the same quality of business
Or survive,
or
like maybe
survive.
you're just scraping by, doing your best, making sort of decision in really stressful situations, and then making another decision in a stressful situation, and you sort of never get out of that pattern.
Hmm. And I've
Yeah.
experienced that firsthand as well.
What's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning?
Pet a dog.
Pet a dog.
What a good answer.
That's a great
That
answer.
my girl Billy. She's very,
Billy.
very affectionate, and she's usually laying on your face in the morning. She's also like
So good.
85 pounds.
What kind
So
of dog
good.
is Billy?
She is a Saint Doodle, so she's a doodle, but she's half Saint Bernard.
Oh my
And then I,
God.
and then we have Paul too. So she's 1, Paul is 3. His full name is Paul Bocuse, after one of the greatest. But he's a Bernedoodle, so he's half Bernese Mountain Dog. So 2 Swiss Alp dogs mixed with poodles.
Oh
Love it.
And
My
he's about
gosh.
90.
Also,
He's about 95 pounds now, and he shouldn't be, but it's fine.
we love him
The
anyway.
vet doesn't like it, but
With these 3 restaurants now, who has been one person that has transformed your business that you've hired?
if I could go all the way back to all of the businesses I've been involved with, it's just a dude named Jim Brewitt. He's my Cisco rep, and he answers his phone on one ring. And me and him have gone to every food show together. And he's just like, when other vendors come in, I'm just like, nope, not even going to look at your stuff. I got Jim, and he's treated me right. So probably Jim.
That's awesome.
Gotta love that answer.
I think that's the first vendor answer we've gotten.
Yeah.
Respect. Shout out vendors.
What's been the most successful marketing decision you made for your business or businesses?
I guess they're all like, all 3 of them have been under, they're all within 5 years. So, I think we lean heavy on Instagram. I know that's not a great answer, but it's kind of
It's fantastic.
I'm a big IG person too, so I'm a little bit biased, but
Me too.
Yeah. All right. And then the last one is on tools. In our case, technically software, but it could be anything. What is the one tool that you use every day? And like I said, that could mean a butcher's knife. It could mean a Sharpie. It could mean a notebook.
Could be KDS.
Could be KDS up in this piece.
I would say we'll see there. I'll say that my favorite tool in the past few years has been Google Docs.
Yeah.
Shout out to Google Docs.
Love a Google Doc. Google Docs.
We run all of our recipes off Google Docs, and I can instantly send them to emails, and people can just get on their phone and look at their grammed out recipes, and then Google Sheets for scheduling. Google, I would say Google.
Dude, the power of the drive,
So good.
right? The power of the cloud.
Yeah, that's great.
And even in Postboy, there's been, so many people involved with marketing and design and fonts and all that stuff, and it all gets delivered in a Google Drive, and it's very easy for everyone to use and share back and forth.
You just can't give everybody the keys to the drive, though. That's the challenge, right?
That is the challenge.
Set those permissions.
Do I want to trust you with all this information?